Hi, today I'm doing a foundation review. I'm going to be looking at the Covergirl Clean Invisible Foundation. It looks like this. I have it in shade Ivory. Based on the reviews I've been seeing, I expect that it's going to have a nice light feel to it, but still give a decent amount of coverage. And because I have rosacea and dry skin and all of those sorts of things, we'll be able to really see how it sits and what kind of coverage it offers. If you're new here, then welcome. I'm Audrey. I do videos where I review skincare and makeup, especially with an eye toward those particular issues of dry skin and rosacea, and finding products that really work the best for me across the entire year as my skin is drier and more irritated and all of the kinds of things that tend to happen. I'm also in my 40s, so that adds a little bit extra to my needs that I have to think about. If you share some of those same skin concerns, or just in general you like foundation reviews, then I hope you'll subscribe and stick around to see how this goes. This is a first impression, so it's not going to be that full wear test or a detailed long-term review, but I really like being able to take you along for the ride as I experience it myself. And I'm going to be doing a roundup review looking at all of the foundations from the drugstore that I've been trying out. And so that'll be coming up in it depends on how fast I am at testing, I guess, maybe the next month or two, so that you'll be able to get a clear picture from there. But there's such good options at every price point these days that I feel like it's going to be fun to put together a little collection of options that people have that are affordable, that are dry skin friendly, that are really flexible in terms of the kind of wear that you want. I'm just going to put some of this on the back of my hand, and we'll have a look at the shade. I made my best guess based on the review that Hot Mess Tom did, where I think they're not quite as pale as I am, and this looked just a tiny bit too light, so I'm hoping that'll be a good shade match, but we'll see. It'll be easier to tell on my skin. So, damp sponge, just gonna kind of prime it on the back of my hand, and let's put a little bit more on. It's possible this is, on me, going to look like a pretty light coverage product. It is evening out my skin tone though, I can see that. Yeah, starting to do something. But you can see there's still a lot of the redness coming through, and I've been having a ongoing rosacea flare. So I'm not expecting something to completely cover it up, especially this kind of a product, like a more lightweight foundation, but just to tone it down. I'll try the other side here. Even here where I've, gone in with a little bit more product, it doesn't feel heavy. I mean, to me, this is feeling nice and moisturized. I forget whose video. I saw somebody, again, who was complaining about how tinted moisturizer and lightweight foundation are not the same category. Oh, that's too much on my nose. Let's see if I can smooth that out a little bit. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. And looking at it on the close-up mirror too, I can get a little bit better sense of the texture and how it's sitting. It does have a really nice moisturized kind of texture to it. And I think if that kind of lightweight finish is important to you, then this might be a nice option. But you can see even, I'll give this a moment to kind of sit and then try putting a little bit more on the reddest parts of my face. But you can see it's evening things out, but it isn't necessarily really covering these kinds of areas up. Shade-wise, this doesn't feel too bad. I think there's two lighter shades that just have different undertones. And I have a bronzer to try today, so even if it was a little bit too pale, which looking at my neck I don't think it is, I would still be able to even things out. So here's just a little bit more on my cheek, on the reddest parts of my face here. This part of my face probably has the most product on it at this point. But we'll put a little bit more on the other side. And then I'll sip some coffee while I let it set, or drying doesn't seem like the right word, but I don't want to put anything on top of it when it's still feeling extra damp. And it's not like sticky or coming off, at this point on like my forehead where I applied things earlier. So I don't think that this is one that like won't set and would feel kind of weird and, you know, too dewy. At least if you have drier skin. Obviously, I've never had oily skins, so that's a whole other set of considerations that I just can't really talk to. But I know there are a lot of other creators on here who do have that kind of skin and that experience. Definitely, this is a really affordable foundation, but still it's never a bad idea to watch multiple reviews before you decide. And everybody's skin, I'm always saying this, everybody's skin is different. We live in different places, different environments, and so no one foundation is going to work exactly the same on everybody, right? There's just a lot of different things that go into it. And also skin prep. It's always important to think about your skin prep. Today I'm doing something that's pretty common for me. I put on the Rhode glazing milk. If you watched the declutter where I was talking about it, I went ahead and rebought it because it does just work so well for me, especially under makeup. And then on top of that, I put the Tower 28 facial moisturizer that I've been using pretty much continuously since, I don't know, sometime in 2024 when I first tried it. It just has exactly the right kind of like level of moisturizing and finish that I like from an everyday moisturizer. This isn't feeling too damp right now, so I know with the light I'm probably looking extra pale, but again, I will point you to what the rest of my skin looks like, especially this time of year. So I think while I let my cheeks set just a little bit more, with the bronzer is a powder bronzer, so I don't want to like accidentally like just paint a stripe on my face. Although I don't feel like I'm very good with powder bronzer, so we'll see. I'll do my best. But while that's continuing to happen, let's take care of the under eyes and brows and things that aren't going to be affected. For my under eye area, I'm still just using this under eye color corrector from e.l.f. When this one runs low, I may go and try a different brand of it. I know that there's a few options with this kind of product, and they probably all work, you know, fairly similarly. Oh, I put a little bit extra on that I don't necessarily need. I also, this doesn't happen often, but with my rosacea, I have a little bit here, and I try to really keep an eye on anything that's happening in the eye area because ocular rosacea is potentially extremely damaging. So, you know, if you have rosacea and you've had any symptoms where, like, you know, you feel like your eyes are drier, blurry, or you have, you know, anything that's unexpected like that, get it checked out by an eye doctor just to be sure that you're not developing, you know, like more extensive problems. My eye doctor is actually the person who suggested that I get my skin checked out. I'm glad that she brought it up to me. It was probably, you know, like 2016 or 17 when my rosacea was at its worst, and I just didn't have the energy. I've talked about this in other videos, but it just really didn't feel like it was worth putting the effort in. You know, sometimes because I've always had eczema and certain skin issues, I sometimes feel just a little doomed, which is so silly to say out loud. But, you know, it just kind of gets into that loop of like, well, you know, it probably won't work that much and it won't help, and is it worth the effort? And you know, especially if you have rosacea that has like, you know, more of these bumps and swelling and things like that, and you're itchy all the time, it does not have to be that bad. There really are some good options that aren't that difficult or expensive or anything these days. So, all right, nothing is coming away from my cheeks. I am still a little sticky, you know, but that might be about where it's gonna be right now. So let's quick do brows. I think I'll start by just giving them a quick brush with a spoolie here, and then a little bit of clear brow gel to hold them where they are. I don't have a tinted brow gel right now, so if you have one that you like, especially in a light brown or a taupe, or some kind of, you know, my eyebrows are nearly blonde, something that's friendly to that, I would love to know. Leave your recommendations in a comment. especially if it's drugstore affordable, something like that. You know, I had the one from e.l.f. for a while, but I'm trying to not just, I mean, for a variety of reasons, not just buy e.l.f. because it's there, you know? So, especially since the drugstore stuff just keeps improving, and I'm sure a lot of brands have similar products at this point. Trying not to buy one of everything. Although, you know, if you want to see a tinted brow gel video, I will buy a few options to compare. For bronzer, when I was at Walgreens picking up the foundation, I saw that CoverGirl has this new baked bronzer. I think there's also a blush that just came out. They had a little like cardboard display that was fairly picked over. That's how it always feels with like in-store drugstore releases, you know, where like the new product section is just completely picked over and you have to wait for them to restock. But they still had some of the bronzers. So this is the shade Honey Bun, and I'll have to double check. It looked like it was probably going to be the lightest option that they have, and as you can see, it's just a nice golden brown baked bronzer kind of formula. I'm trying to think. I definitely don't have another baked bronzer right now. I might not have ever actually tried one. They've been really popular in the past. So I won't be able to give you an exact comparison to like if there's one from Milani or somebody. But regardless, we can see how it works. I'm going to take maybe, let's see, fluffy angled brush. I think something like this should work. I'm not sure if I should try to... I already tried this once and I kind of overdid it, so I'm trying to figure out, do I want to... Maybe I'll just sort of knock it against my washcloth on my lap here so that I can try not to put too much on. Of course, part of that is that if I take too much product off the brush, then I try again and suddenly I am drowning in bronzer, but that's just a little bit, I think. Maybe I should have gone in and done a little bit of concealing here to make it easier to see with the rosacea. But then again, if you have rosacea, you probably find yourself in this situation a lot where if you don't want to have to go through and cover everything every time, it is good to know what products will kind of sit okay on top of it without making what's coming through look like more obvious. I guess if it's bronzer, I don't want to take it too far forward. It looks nice there. I think that's kind of a nice soft glow. Maybe a little bit on the forehead. Very subtle. Yeah, now I can see it, but I'm sort of turning different angles. I think that looks okay, both on camera and in person. Yeah, you can see it's sort of, it doesn't look as even on this side, but again, that could be more down to my skin texture. Because there's here kind of the smoother side to compare. A little bit on my neck. Yeah, I definitely think I can get some use out of that. And I'm sure I could build it up more if I wanted to go that route, but I think it's nice to see that there are some lighter options that can blend really nicely. And this is a sort of a luminous enough base on me that I think the bronzer does have a little bit of glow, but it's just hard for me to see. It's hard for me to tell distinctly from what else is going on with it. So I'll play around with this more, but I think if you are similarly at Walgreens and spot it, and you don't already have a baked bronzer, not a bad thing to pick up if you like. I don't think it was too expensive. Some of the drugstore prices have gotten pretty high. Obviously, I know it's not just, there's inflation and everything, but also the cost of packaging, from what I understand, has gone up quite a bit. Alison Turquoise has these great videos about it if you ever like to nerd out on like manufacturing stuff. Even so, I really prefer to see drugstore products coming in, $15 or less. And certainly for like a drugstore foundation, to kind of go back to the main topic of the video. I don't want to review anything like in that category that's over $20, I think, because on its own, it's not necessarily a big purchase, but I feel like when you sort of stack up all of the makeup that you might go through or use in the course of a year, every product being even $20 and up starts to add up, especially for a lot of us with our budgets these days. So I want to be really aware of that, both for myself so that I don't overspend, but also for you to get the things that are going to be the most effective. I have a blush, and I wasn't sure if I would want to add blush to this, but I think, wait, actually, before I do blush, I have eye makeup. Well, let's do that. And then if I still want blush after I've done some eyeshadow, then we can add that there. But I'm remembering that there's a little bit of pink in the eyeshadow that I want to play with, so I don't want to, you know, kind of overdo it with like pink, pink, pink. So, okay, the eyeshadow. I have this City Mini palette from Maybelline in the shade Downtown Sunrise. And it's just this cute little collection of neutrals with a pop of color that reminds me of that older Smashbot palette that I have just a little bit. But there's this pink, I don't know, it's somewhere between like salmon and coral shimmer in here that I really wanted to give a try, and then I'll build something around it maybe to make it all fit. Again, I am not an eyeshadow expert, but I'm learning. I'm trying to, you know, have more go-to ideas for easy eyeshadow looks and things that I can do to take this from just a very neutral face into something that feels a little bit more fancy for whatever my mood might be that day. And I've been watching a lot of tutorials from Robert Welch, so I feel like maybe a little bit of that will rub off on me too in terms of remembering or learning some technique. I'm going to start with this flatter but little fluffy brush. See how that works for putting some color on. Here we go. Much pink. I think one of his tips was to do most of it with your eye open so that you're not just burying things in the crease when you have hooded eyes, which quite a few people do. That's nice. It seems like a pretty soft formula. I haven't put my finger in it, so I can't tell you if it feels creamy. Maybe I will kind of take it like this far across the eye. And let's put some here. One of his tips that I do remember was to take a clean, fluffy brush and use that to blend the edges. So that's what I'm going to do. Maybe try not to poke my eye. I was thinking maybe blend up a little bit. I think I like that effect. I'm going to add just a little bit more to get more of that color. Make sure I smudge it kind of down at the lash line. And then I will blend the edges again. Let's see if I like that. I think I do. I feel like I could blend a little here. And then for the inner side of it, I could do shimmer all the way across. That's an option in here. I could take sort of the champagne beige shimmer maybe, or I'm also kind of tempted to find out what it'll look like if I blend the lighter matte into it. So I'm going to give that a try and see if I like how that looks. And if it sort of blurs things out a little bit too much or mutes it too much, then I'll go with the shimmer. I've been looking at old, if you're my age, you probably remember like magazines and ads and things would run those like charts of how to do eyeshadow. I've been looking at those and trying to see if there's any like sort of 80s eyeshadow secrets that I can learn. I think that would be a fun video to do. And I'm using this little bit more densely fluffy brush with that shade. Let's see how this looks for me. Sometimes the risk for me with these sorts of shades is that because my eyelids are actually pretty pale, they don't really do anything. And even as a blending shade, they just kind of disappear. Yeah, I think that's probably the case here. Just put a little bit up here to see if I can even, not really. So more shimmer it is. I'll just see if I can just brush a little bit on here. I don't know how much this is doing for the look overall. I don't necessarily want to be just pink all the way around the eyes. I think that can start to look a little unwell. At least on me. I switched brushes and I think that's working better. Wouldn't be bad to maybe try the light pink on the inside sometime too. Not sure if that works or not. I'll kind of blend up here again. There's this matte brown shade that I haven't used at all, but I feel like if I start throwing something like that in, it's just going to make things muddy in a bad way. To go with that, I'm going to put some mascara on. I think I like this palette and I'll be making more use of it. There's a couple different color combinations that might work for me, and so it'll be fun to play with. And the texture and formula seems nice. I really wanted to dig into a couple more drugstore palette options. I always see them and never quite know what to go for. So if you've got a recommendation for some like little palettes like this, you know, particular like options or colors you like, I feel like maybe there's some good stuff from Wet n Wild, let me know. My zoom may have changed a little bit. I had to get up and change the battery, and I think I might have the camera's default settings a little bit more zoomed in, so hopefully this is not too far off. It did give me a chance though to look in a different mirror, different light, at how the foundation is doing, and I think outside of this kind of lighting it's looking a little heavy on me, and also a little, not dry exactly, but I can see it kind of sitting a certain way along here, you know, like as I smile. And that could be really just a factor of me putting more on to find out if I could get more coverage out of it. So when I try it again, I will definitely be sticking to that lighter coverage just to see how it sits and how the finish is looking on me at that point. I don't want to blame it for my own over enthusiasm or or whatever. And here it's not too bad and under these kinds of lights. So, and that's always something to remember too, that makeup that looks good on camera is often a little bit heavier than what works in person. And so sometimes, you know, you see somebody review a thing that they're happy with and like to you it looks a little underwhelming. It's just the lighting and everything. It really takes a little bit more to make things read correctly. Mascara, that's where I was going, right? So the only one that I have right now is the same one from NYX that I tried in the last video, I think. It's this NYX On The Rise Volume Mascara. And I know that I said that I didn't like it because it has sort of wispy lashes and I couldn't build it past a certain point. That's probably still true. But I was talking to a friend and I said, oh, you know, I really hate those doll lashes on me. And she was like, oh, I like that effect. So I feel like I should give the idea another try and see if, see if there's a way to make it work for me or make it feel a little bit more like me. I think that also with that kind of wispier look that having like a black or a darker eyeliner would help. I just don't currently have anything like that. So that's probably another thing that I should look for to see if I can find like an affordable gel eyeliner that I can use to beef up some of these looks. I'm never sure where to put the tube when I'm like, I can hold a mirror and I probably shouldn't try to talk and put mascara on, so give me a sec. So there's one eye. I feel like one of the things with this is wet enough that sort of my eyelashes switch directions depending on like how I'm brushing. A little bit more like doing brows, but there. Both eyes, hopefully close to the same amount of mascara on them. There's a little bit I need to clean up. Still not going to be a go-to for me, but maybe I can get a little bit of use out of it until I pick something else up. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip blush, and also because I feel like now that I have the eye look on, my face doesn't feel quite as blank as it did with just the bronzer. And I think also as the foundation has set, it's sort of evened out the way that the rosiness of my cheeks is coming through. I'll just have to remember next time to not rush to put another layer on and, you know, maybe put it on, let it sit a minute before deciding that I might need more coverage, just to make sure that I don't get things like too heavy around the center of my face here. Overall, it's not looking bad though. I think I'm a little bit more picky than most people about that sort of thing of like how, you know, when I smile, how it moves on my face here. Most people that if I was talking to somebody, they probably wouldn't be like, you know, did you put a little bit too much foundation here? There's a cat in the hallway who also wants me to hurry up. So let's do lips. With winter and cold weather, I'm really just looking for something easy and something that's easy, hydrating, and can be reapplied most of the time. So the one that I've been using, actually there's two that I've been using, but on this side we have something that I've been using for a couple weeks and one that I just got at the same time as the foundation. So they are the Burt's Bees Lip Balm in Red Dahlia, which has this really nice neutral red kind of color that, a lot of these things tend to either go too pink or too bright pink or too like berry kind of toned, and I don't tend to like berry tones on my lips. So it was nice to find one that really is, it just seems to like enhance the color of my lips, without taking it too far one direction or another. And then the one that I got more recently was the Maybelline Lifter Glaze oil, what does it say? Oil balm? Something like that. But I mean, it's a lip balm. It's actually, if you like, not like really oily lip balms, but ones that have a little bit more of that waxy heft to it. And I don't mean like in a, too thick kind of way. This is a really nice formula. And honestly, I know they're kind of new and people are talking about them because like, oh no, another new whatever lip balm. But this is the kind of formula that I like personally for a lip balm. And so since I got it, I've been just putting this on every day. The one that I have is pink. I keep wanting to say pink slip, but I think it's pink drip. It's just a very pale pink color that doesn't really, well, you'll see. So here's my lips without it. And here's with, it's not like a really obvious tint on me. But I just, yeah, this is, for me this time of year, this is the perfect texture for a lip product. And because it is really lightly pigmented, I can just keep putting it on and it's no big deal. It does have a light vanilla flavor to it. So if you were hoping for something totally unfragranced, it's not that. But it's also not like some of the drugstore lipsticks can be like quite perfumed in a way. And this, it just has that sort of like light, sweet vanilla kind of scent to it. So not too overpowering at all. And that feels really good. So that's what I'm gonna stick with today. So there's the look, there's the foundation. I think that for the Clean Invisible Foundation, this is definitely worth me playing around with more. And especially playing around a little bit with, skin prep, making sure that my skin is as hydrated as it can be, starting with it. Not because this looks or feels very dry on me, but just, especially, again, this time of year, foundations will set differently and settle differently on my face, I find. So I want to give it the best chance of just not clinging, right? Really giving a smooth cover. When I look in the mirror that's in front of me here, I think this looks great. I just know that when I went and looked in the bathroom that I could see a little bit more heaviness here, and that entirely could be user error, So I will be doing, like I said, that roundup video where I talk a little bit more about my experience with this and some other things to come. So just quick in terms of the other things that I tried, like I said, the eyeshadow palette, I like this. This will stay in rotation for sure. I only just put the lip gloss on, but it's a good lip balm. I am tempted to go get another color, but also I know that I have enough lip products probably, but that's the thing that is like I'm most likely to splurge on, is like another lip balm, another lipstick. So I'm trying to really figure out what a reasonable amount of that is. Then again, if I use this every day and I use it up, I could totally I could totally justify getting another one, Let's see, what else was new? We also have the Covergirl Skin Enhancer Baked Bronzer. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I will play with that more. And I think that looks like it in terms of the new stuff. It's everything that I have in front of me. So I think that covers it. Thank you so much for joining me today, hanging out. I hope this was interesting or useful or gave you some ideas for what you might want to try. If you have drugstore foundations that you think that you'd like me to review, please leave a comment and let me know. I have a couple of things in mind, and one other thing that I've picked up so far, but I definitely am interested in your suggestions and what you'd like to see. And again, if you haven't yet, please subscribe. So remember to take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Bye.